Leftovers? That's all you want? His voice dripped with disbelief as he stared down from his wheelchair, a smirk twisting across his face. The girl stood barefoot in the rain, clutching an empty box, her eyes trembling but steady. Around them, waiters froze, pretending not to hear the laughter. She wasn't just asking for food, she was asking for dignity. He laughed, rolling away, leaving a trail of luxury and cruelty behind. But what he didn't know was that in just 7 days, the girl he mocked would hold the one thing his money could never buy. Have you ever been laughed at for simply asking for kindness? Tell us in the comments, because this story might change the way you see power, privilege, and mercy forever. Before we begin, hit subscribe. It's appreciated. It was a cold evening in the heart of the city, the kind of night when the streetlights flicker and the wind carries stories no one wants to hear. Amara, a 19-year-old girl with calloused hands and worn shoes, stood outside the golden gates of the Royale Hotel. Inside, laughter echoed, crystal glasses clinking, silk gowns brushing marble floor. While outside she waited, invisible to everyone passing by. She wasn't there by choice. Life had cornered her. Her mother lay weak in a small clinic on the outskirts of town, her body failing, her medicine too expensive. Amara had tried everything, cleaning houses, selling handmade trinkets, even skipping meals to save a few coins. But it wasn't enough. Not when each pill cost more than her week's work. That's when she heard about him. Mr. Cale Donovan, a millionaire paralyzed from the waist down after a racing accident. He owned half the businesses in the district, including the Royale. They said he dined alone every night, wasting more food than most families saw in a month. To Amara, that sounded like hope. Or maybe desperation dressed as hope. That night, she decided to do what pride had long stopped her from doing. She waited by the service entrance, hoping to catch him when he left. Her plan was simple. Ask if she could take his leftovers. Maybe he'd understand. Maybe compassion would reach him where fortune hadn't. When his car pulled up, the lights bathed her in white. The guards frowned, ready to push her away. But she stood firm, her heart pounding in her chest. This was it. The moment that would decide whether her mother lived or died. What would you have done if you were her? Desperate? Humiliated? But still standing there, hoping someone would see your humanity. The air smelled of perfume and rain as Cale's wheelchair rolled toward the car. His presence commanded attention. The expensive suit, the cold stare, the air of a man used to being obeyed. Amara stepped forward, clutching her empty food box like a lifeline. Her voice trembled, but her words were clear. She asked if she could have his leftovers. The laughter came instantly. Not just from him, but from his assistants, the guards, even the valet standing nearby. The sound pierced through her like glass. Kyle tilted his head, studying her as though she were something amusing, a break from the boredom of wealth. He asked if she was joking, and when she shook her head, his smile widened. He gestured toward the trash bins and said that's where leftovers belonged. Not for you, for the rats. The guards chuckled, and one muttered something under his breath that made the others laugh harder. Amara stood frozen, shame burning her face, her heart pounding so loud she thought they could hear it. But then something inside her shifted. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just looked at him, really looked at him, and said quietly that even the richest man could lose everything, and one day he might need mercy too. Her voice was soft, but it silenced the laughter for a moment. Then Cale's face hardened, and he ordered them to get her out of his sight. The guards shoved her toward the street, and her box fell into a puddle. She picked it up, her hands trembling, and walked away. Behind her, Cale's car engine roared, and the hotel lights faded into the night. For days, Amara wandered the city, searching for a miracle. Her mother's condition worsened, and the doctors gave her a week, maybe less. Amara's mind spun with helplessness until, one morning, she saw a poster outside a research clinic. Experimental treatment for spinal injury. Volunteers needed, compensation offered. Her heart skipped. The name printed at the bottom caught her eye, Donovan Foundation. Cale's foundation. The same man who had laughed at her. She hesitated, but something in her pushed forward. She signed up as a volunteer cleaner, sweeping the hallways of the clinic Cale funded, surrounded by scientists and patients in wheelchairs. Every day she saw him roll in, cold, unreachable, untouchable. And every day, she told herself she didn't hate him. But one evening, as she mopped the floor, she overheard something that made her blood run cold. The experimental drug that could help Cale walk again. It wasn't ready. It was flawed, unstable, even dangerous. The lead scientist said they needed someone to test it first. Someone desperate, expendable. Amara stopped breathing. They were looking for a test subject. A human one. She knew what that meant. And she knew exactly what she was about to do. The night was heavy with rain again when Amara made her choice. She stood outside the glass doors of the clinic, soaked and trembling, her reflection barely visible under the fluorescent lights. Inside, Cale waited with his doctors, impatient, confident, certain that the world owed him another miracle. He was days away from testing the serum, but no one had yet agreed to take the first risk. Amara stepped forward. She didn't sign up for pity. She signed up for purpose. When the nurse stopped her, she simply said she wanted to volunteer for the trial. The room went silent. Even Cale looked up, surprise flickering across his face. He didn't recognize her at first, and just another girl from nowhere. But when she spoke his name, his smirk faded. She told them she knew the risks. That her life wasn't worth much if her mother died anyway. But if the trial worked, if it saved him, maybe, just maybe, it could fund her mother's treatment. The doctors hesitated, warning her that it could kill her. She didn't blink. They prepped her that night. The serum glowed faintly under the light, an untested mix of science and desperation. Cale watched from behind the glass as the needle pierced her skin. For the first time, his arrogance faltered. Minutes passed. Then her body convulsed. Machine screamed. The doctors rushed to stabilize her. Kyle turned pale, gripping his chair's armrests, watching the same girl he had humiliated risk her life for him. And then, silence. Her breathing steadied. The monitors leveled. The serum worked. Against all odds, her body accepted it. The doctors whispered in disbelief. Her neural pathways were healing. The formula was safe. She had just given Kyle the cure he'd been praying for. But as she opened her eyes, her vision blurred. Her voice was weak. She smiled faintly and said, "Now maybe someone else will walk again." Then her heartbeat began to slow. The monitors shrieked once more. Cale wheeled himself forward, shouting for help, his voice cracking, desperate, human. Would she survive? Would he finally realize what true strength looked like? Or would it take losing the girl he mocked to wake his conscience? What do you think happens next? The world outside the clinic kept turning, but for Cale Donovan, time stopped that night. Amara's body was rushed to the ICU, her small frame lost beneath a web of wires and machines. She had slipped into a coma, neither gone nor alive, suspended between two worlds. The same serum that healed her nerves had nearly burned through her veins. But her sacrifice changed everything. Cale's doctors confirmed it. Her test made the formula stable. Within weeks, he would walk again. The media called it a miracle, a triumph of science. But Cale couldn't bear the headlines. Every step he took in therapy was a reminder of the girl who gave him back his life. The one he had laughed at. The one whose name no one in his circle even knew. He visited her every night, sitting beside her hospital bed. Her skin was pale, her breath shallow, but she looked peaceful, as if the suffering she carried had finally quieted. He found out about her mother, the clinic bills, the hunger she'd endured. He paid every debt, restored her home, and made sure her mother received the treatment Amara had fought for. But it wasn't guilt alone that drove him. It was awakening. 1 month later, when Amara opened her eyes, Kyle was standing, for the first time in years. Tears rolled down his face as he whispered her name. She couldn't speak, but she smiled faintly, and that was enough. Kyle sold his racing company, dissolved his luxury brand, and turned his foundation into a humanitarian trust, feeding the hungry, housing the poor, and funding medical access for those left behind. Every plate served carried a small inscription, inspired by Amara. She never asked for glory, and he never sought forgiveness. But their story became a reminder that sometimes the poorest hearts hold the richest strength, and that redemption often begins with humility. How many times have we walked past someone who only needed compassion, not charity, not pity, but simple human kindness? Tell us in the comments what this story made you feel.